Hey, time to shine today, varsity squad at Scott Ferguson. And I am joined by my Midwesterner, my girl, Gina Trimarco.
Hey.
She's fantastic. She is a Chicago native.
I love the way you say Chicago.
Serial entrepreneur with 25 years experience in marketing, sales, operations, and people training. She was recruited to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in 2007 to take over an IMAX theater after successfully turning around the one at Navy Pier in Chicago. When the economy crashed in 2008 and she lost her job, she opted to do something seemingly impossible to many by launching a business with an unproven concept of finding a new job. That business, Carolina Improv Company, has been #1 on TripAdvisor for nightlife attractions in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina since 2010. Peeps, that's 10 years, that's a decade, that's phenomenal. Soon after that, she founded Pivot 10 Results. That's what we're gonna really dig into today with Gina. It's a training and consulting firm that helps businesses and executives shift from people problems to performance results, through the application of soft skills training and strategic planning. She graduated from DePaul University and studied at Second City. That's solid. While pursuing her degree in communications, in addition to being a member of the Vistage International Speakers Bureau. Trimarco produces and hosts 2 podcasts, The Pivotal Leader and Women Your Mother Warned You About, which is actually, you have to definitely scoop one of those up. She's also been a contributor to Forbes.com and TrainingMagazine.com, and that is some serious credential, peeps. And Gina, please come on and introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is black because it goes with everything.
Black.
I know. It goes back and forth between black and red. Red if I want to be, showing up and getting attention. Black if I want to make my life easy.
I love it. Easy life is good. And it's like she's like the Johnny Cash of the Pivot 10 Results. What's your favorite emoji that you use on your phone when you're texting?
My favorite emoji is the winky kiss face.
The winky kiss face. I love it. I love it. All right, so let's get into some gravy and potatoes here, and tell us about the origins a little bit. I kind of gave a nice. Squad out there that's listening usually asks for like a 50-word bio, but she sent me a book, so I have to read it to you. But no, and you're just gonna hear some banter because Gina and I are actually friends, so it's a lot of fun to have somebody that I kind of know on the show to kind of come in. But Gina, give us the origins of kind of like where you're starting and when you had that aha moment to start rocking Pivot 10 Results.
Sure. And I'm sorry about the long bio. Details is not my thing. I'm a visionary and I suck at details. So obviously I don't know how to read. So there's that. I like to be transparent. Pivot 10 Results was born out of Carolina Improv Company, and Carolina Improv Company was born out of, there was a recession in 2008 and I lost my job. That's sort of how all that happened. You heard it in my bio that I was recruited to Myrtle Beach to open an IMAX theater. So my background's been in entertainment marketing and operations, specifically in live theater and then the IMAX world. So I've got like this really interesting background. I like to think of myself as left brain, right brain. So
Okay.
I can creatively look at things, but I can also operationally look at things. So got recruited to Myrtle Beach. Completely different world than Chicago. Born and raised Chicago girl, city, north side, go Cubs. And you go down to South Carolina as an Italian, or I should say Italian, because that's how they call us in the South. And you don't really fit in. It was really a culture shock for me. So during that process, I'm like, I need a refresher improv class. That'll tweak me, because it really is like cheap therapy, adult playtime. And nobody knew what it was, which made me even more depressed. Like I was missing out on Italian beef sandwiches, blues clubs, and then there was no improv.
Don't they have the Italian beef sandwiches there in Chicago where they just douse them and like
yes,
exactly.
yes.
And most of the listeners out there that know me know I'm from Detroit, so I hate anything Chicago except for the city.
And me.
Sports and Trimarco here, but no, the food is phenomenal.
Oh
Phenomenal.
Dying for a beef sandwich if anybody wants to send me one. You guys have Portillo's down in Florida, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, we
So
have.
Portillo's was a client of mine for
Oh
a little
really?
bit back in the day when I was producing television commercials. But that's a whole nother, it's a
we'll
whole,
we'll we'll
it's a
stick
whole
with
nother story.
we'll
Yeah,
stick with the Pivot 10
we're gonna
today.
stick
But
with the Pivot 10.
so
So
yeah,
the
keep going.
improv theater got started first, more as a hobby because I wanted an outlet, a creative outlet,
Okay.
and in order to do it, I actually had to create the community for it and create the playground for it. So I had to actually create the business for me to have a hobby, and it took off. And then within a year, built a theater because I was asked to build a theater in a mall, which is insane. And that happened in a year's time. And then corporate training took off, which was always the goal because I'd hired a company like ours at one point to come in and do customer service training with my staff. So I knew the value of applying improv in business for soft skills. So that was always the plan. The theater came first. We got through that, and then we got the corporate stuff going, and then we hit a wall, especially in the South, with trying to educate people on what improv for business is, because they were just automatically thinking it was comedy and that we were trying to be funny, and they weren't taking it seriously, and people wanted results, and they were starting to look at me as more of a comedian than as actually a pretty astute, smart businesswoman. So I had to do a pivot.
Sure.
And
Everyone's using that word now.
well,
Pivot.
here's the funny thing. Like Pivot 10 Results, we rebranded our training division to Pivot 10 back in 2016.
Ah, that was still when it was called shifting.
Yeah, yeah, back when shift was like,
Yeah.
and the word pivot was starting to become really popular after we created the new brand. That because it was during the
So you were
election.
there first.
We were there first.
Dive it. I love it.
Yeah, so that's how Pivot 10 is basically Carolina Improv rebranded to not freak people out
Yeah,
about
so they don't
training.
see the word improv, which you get a lot of that. Like I love the improv world. I'm nowhere near your level, but it's helped me make other people look better.
Yeah.
Because the improv coach that I've used here in South Florida said, the biggest thing is to make your scene partner look better. It's almost a
Amen.
race to the bottom to make them look better, which
Yeah.
helped me out with my clients, which I know that's what you guys do at in your strategic consulting world at Pivot 10. So tell me something, what makes a great strategic consultant?
Honestly, you have to be a great listener. Like that's the first go-to. If you pay attention to your clients and your prospects and you spend time listening, you're going to hear what the problems are, and you can still be a subject matter expert because that's really why they're hiring you, but you don't want to rub it in their face. And going back to making your scene partner look good, it's all about how can I elevate this client and make them a rock star. And that starts with really listening to them and not reacting and not responding right away, and letting them get it off their chest, and then coming back to them with a plan based on what they said. And it's interesting because sometimes I'll have a strategic meeting with a prospect. I'll come back with a proposal and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, you totally get me. You totally understand our problems." And I'm like, "No, I just took notes during our conversation."
Yeah, I love it. They probably look at you like, what?
I'm like, "Nope, I'm just regurgitating word for word what you
Right.
said to me." And that, right, think about that in any human interaction. People love to be heard because they feel like you care. And when you actually repeat things back to them in their words,
Paraphrase it, right?
I mean, it's golden.
Love it. I love it. I'm glad that you had said that, good listener. And like, you don't, being an improv, one thing that I'm sure you might agree with, maybe not, but you're not just listening with your ears, you're listening with your eyes, all the senses, correct? That's a lot of what you teach in the improv world,
Oh my
correct?
gosh, you have my heart.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, you get it. Like, so that's what I preach all the time. It's when I talk about listening, I'm like, you have to listen with your ears and your eyes.
Right. You can
It's
see
that,
posture or, looking the other
yeah.
way from the other person.
Yeah, it's the observation. And right now, the world that we're living in, the climate that we're in right now, and while you're not necessarily with people, right, even in a Zoom call,
Sure.
right, we can pay attention to what's going on someone's face. Like I just recorded a podcast with my partner Rachel, for Women Your Mother Warned You About, and she was having a really bad day, and the episode was on meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a meditation person on it, and she literally had, you want to talk resting bitch face. Like, I'm like, oh no, you are just not having it today, are you? Shit.
So, what? Okay, if I'm out at a networking event or somewhere and I'm pressing flesh, which you don't really get to do that right now in most parts of the United States, but eventually we'll get out there. And if I'm talking to someone and someone comes up to me, and what is the keywords that I'm looking for to might be a good prospect, contact, connection, or someone to refer to Pivot Time?
For you to say to someone, say that, ask that question one more time.
If I'm talking to somebody and they're starting to talk about their business and maybe there's been some fails or something like that, challenges they're going through, what am I listening for to know that they're a good contact or
Okay.
referral for Pivot Time?
Productivity is down.
Okay.
I can't get my employees engaged right now. We're struggling with managing our workforce from home because we're not used to it. Our managers don't know how to manage in this new climate. We don't know what it's going to look like when we get back to normal. We don't know what our normal is going to be.
Sure.
And a lot of what I've been hearing lately is like, how do we re-onboard our employees? And then the other end of it all comes down to engagement, bottom line, but engaging customers too.
Sure.
Like, when is an appropriate time to talk to customers? And well, they're going to push back and say they don't have money, and so any of those obstacles that are people problems,
Okay.
I don't know how to sell, and I don't know how to engage my employees.
Love it. And so then, okay, so you're bringing somebody in and they're a prospect now, not quite a client.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're a client and you're bringing them in. Is there any secret sauce that you guys use there at Pivot 10 that helps them find their blind spots? Because they got the problem. They have the productivity issues, the employee engagement issues, but what is the secret sauce to get them to really come out to help them find that blind spot to help them solve it?
Again, it comes back down to the listening to what they said. Like this morning, I had a meeting with actually a client that had to put us on hold for a while, but now wants to bring us back. And we've had a couple calls, but because everything keeps changing, the conversation I was going to have with them today completely changed immediately when we got on the phone.
The narrative went another way, right?
Yeah, because what I already had prepared, and I'd already sent them a proposal like 4 weeks ago. Right? 4 weeks ago during COVID is like a year ago.
Yes.
It
is.
It just is. So by the time we got back on today and we started looking at what their world is like, I had to come up with a new plan for them. And I felt like it because I have ADD. What was the original question?
You're actually living the name of your company, because as you're going through, especially because we're coming out, you're having to pivot with companies just as much as the companies know that they've got to pivot, right?
Yes, yeah. So discovering what their pain is, they're literally like going through it. It's happening day by day, and so we come at it from a very collaborative standpoint. So I really listen and take notes, and then I go, okay. Like for instance, today they were talking about wanting to engage their employees to be part of the solutions, and what they've seen during this time is that they're not thinking outside of the box, and they're stuck in not being able to think outside of the box in a time that is so it's critical, changing so quickly, and people are still stuck. So, and I said, I go, honestly, I think it's a leadership problem. Right. And so then it's like, I'm honest and open and transparent. And I'm like, I think this is a leadership issue because I think people like to contribute solutions, but what are you guys doing to make sure that they feel comfortable to do that? Right. And then I just back off and I don't say another word because the money's made in the silence. Right. So
absolutely.
I let them absorb that. And then she goes, oh, yeah. It is a leadership problem. Right. So I let them, it's kind of like, you're going to hate this. It's kind of, when it comes to men, it's like, let them think it was their idea.
Sure.
Right. And like,
Absolutely.
right.
Get
It's same,
farther.
right. Like same with clients. It's like, they have to come to a place of like, it's their idea. It's their
Sure.
discovery. And so you're taking them on a journey to discover it for themselves, and then you validate it, but you set them up to get there,
Right.
but then you let them own it.
Love it. I love it. So let's get in our DeLorean here with Marty McFly. Let's
Okay.
go back and have a conversation with the 22-year-old Gina Trimarco. What kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on her to maybe help her level up, maybe shorten the learning curve, if you will, a little bit? What are you telling her? Not to
Here's a,
say she would listen, but what
yeah,
are you dropping on
I'd say, girl, stay out of the clubs. Stop drinking so much wine. No.
her?
No, you know, I would tell my 22-year-old self is, girl, trust your gut. You're onto something. You know what you're doing. I mean, I was a pretty young entrepreneur. I started my first business at age 22. So it's ironic you asked that question, but um, I didn't have enough confidence in myself to believe that I could really rock things. Like
Right.
I like,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm young, and do I really know? And I was kind of killing it at that age, taking on really big 6-figure clients at a young
Sure.
age, not knowing what the hell I was doing. And I kind of abandoned it because I got burnt out. And so, because I didn't know what I needed to know. So if I were to go back, I'd say, believe in yourself, trust yourself. You're special and different, and go seek out help. Like, go find the mentors
I
that
was
could
just going to
help
say
you.
that. Get your asking gear and ask the questions for the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, if I
Absolutely.
would have had some really good mentorship around
Yeah.
me, that business I started at 22, you know, would probably still be around. And I have no regrets because
Oh,
everything happens for a
absolutely.
reason. I love
It's
where
always
I'm
fun to
at.
go back and ask
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So,
but those are the two things I would do.
okay. So, what do you think is like you are like have so many different facets and faces, and I say that affectionately because you're just improv. You can
Yeah.
change on a dime, whatnot. But what's the one thing that you think people misunderstand about Gina the most?
Oh goodness. I think a lot of people misunderstand, um, that they don't realize that I'm like a big kid, and because they see me often in a like serious, like business minded, make things happen, driven personality, big personality, the person that shows up at an event and people are like, Gina's here.
Mhm.
um and all that's true, but I'm also like a homebody, quiet. Need downtime.
Sure,
I'm extremely. I'm more on the traditional side as a woman than people would believe.
sure,
I'm a little more conservative than people would believe. I think people see me as a big party, loud personality, and
right.
there's so much more to me that people don't see.
That's that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Is there like if you're taking on any clients or a prospect, they're a prospect, you're kind of in the discovery process. Is there any question that you wish people would ask you but never do? Because the reason why I say this is because Pivot 10 is unique, where it's using kind of improv and stuff. And I know what I would ask of Pivot 10, but like, what is there any questions that people you wish that they would ask during the discovery process but never do?
Mm, that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that.
You're on time to shine today, so
Yeah,
you
I
got a full
know.
of them.
I guess, and I don't think everybody's really comfortable with this question. I guess I would want them to ask, where I've had success with what I'm doing. You know,
I would
what
want
is
to. I want to see the proof in the pudding. That's what I want to see because if I'm going to take on something that's so
right.
unique,
Yeah.
because what you guys have is old as improv and acting is. What you guys are doing to help companies pivot, and during this, especially this time, I would be asking like, I want to see what you did.
Yeah.
Period, and show
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
I'd ask it like a man. And you'd have to make me feel right about it. We're gonna move on. So you have we talk about the dash on Time to Shine today a lot, whether it's in our chat rooms or in the people that I coach. But how do you want your dash remembered? That dash in between your life date and death date. How do you want that dash remembered? Maybe your epitaph, something like that. How do you want Gina's dash to be remembered?
I want people to remember that I was the person that inspired, pushed, motivated, showed them that they could do whatever they desired to do, that I gave them the push and the confidence to get there.
Love it.
Yeah.
And with you having fun doing it. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. Like
Yeah.
you might walk in the room all serious, but I think once you start getting into people like start working with you, they can let their guard down a little bit, and you're helping them, inspiring them, pushing them, and motivating them, but in a fun way. After a while, they'll understand that it's fun, right?
Yeah. It's a quick story. The person I was talking to this morning, the client I was talking to this morning, and we were talking about the kind of, we've pivoted a little bit in what we're doing beyond the training and doing consultative packages because
Right.
that's what companies need right now. And she's like, I just feel so much better after this phone call with you. I just feel like I need a dose of Gina every day. I said, well, you can have that for this price.
I love that. I love you. Yeah, exactly. There's a price for stuff.
A dose of Gina.
So what would Gina's definition of a life well lived be?
A definition of life. Say that again. Definition of.
What's the definition of a life well lived to you?
A life well lived. Life well lived. Love, happiness, and comfort.
Love it.
Yeah. Simple.
Love it.
Simple.
Awesome. So we're going to move into our leveling up lightning round right now.
Whew.
And so you and I could talk 15, 20. You and I can talk for an hour on every one of these questions, but you got 5 seconds. First thing comes to your head. Don't explain why.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your head. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
Here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
The best leveling up advice.
Are you going to repeat every question?
Just do it. No, that's
folks. I can say this to Gina because she's my friend.
Yeah, right. Just do it.
Love it.
Stop thinking about it.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Having a morning routine. So
beautiful.
Meditation, awesome. Workout, coffee.
Beautiful. Not the book you're reading or the flavor of the month you see out there, but what's one book that if someone comes to you and they're like kind of in the doldrums or whatnot, you'd be like, read this. It's changed me.
A Beautiful Constraint.
Beautiful Constraint. Who's that by?
I can't remember.
Great. I'm going to look it up though. If you could be one age for the rest of your life, what would it be?
22.
Love it. What's your favorite charity and or organization you'd like to support with time or money? Or both?
Locally, Family Justice Center.
Love it. And last question. This one's toughy. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s.
There you go. Big hair, don't care. I love that. Gina, how can we find you guys?
Pivot10results.com, a quick way. You can also find everything Gina through GinaTrimarco.com. That brings you to all of our companies, podcasts, you name it.
Right. Awesome. And people, all those links will be in the show notes, including, I'm going to dig up that book, Beautiful Constraint, and that'll throw those in the show notes as well. Gina, leave us with one last knowledge nugget you want us to take with, internalize, work with. Leave us last one.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, squad. We just had a fantastic masterclass with my good friend. It was actually kind of fun to do it with Gina, just because she's a character if you know her, and it's awesome. But you know what? On a serious note, Gina believes in being a great listener. Productivity and employee engagement is her thing. It's her jam, with getting people to pivot and level up their clients. And if you're out there right now, if you're out there right now, this will drop still probably during the opening phase of COVID, and you're looking for maybe a re-onboarding process, Pivot 10 is fantastic to that. She said something that really stood out to me about money is made in silence. So basically shut the hell up and kind of hear and listen, not just with your eyes, with your ears, but your eyes also. She would have told her 22-year-old self to trust in your gut and believe in yourself and get your asking gear and ask as many questions as you can. And Pivot 10 is going to inspire, push, and motivate you. And lastly, she's all about love, happiness, and comfort, which is exactly how she really lives her life. And that's her legacy that she's going to leave behind. It's fantastic. She's very humble, yet very hungry. She's levels up her health, levels up her wealth. She's a total go-giver. And Gina, thank you so much for joining. Can't get rid of us. You're part of our squad now.
Thank you. I love
Awesome.
you.
Love you too. Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.